Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, outsiders of all ages, it is Monday, and the Texas Longhorn football team is number one in the country. Not just because this guy thinks so, but because the AP voters think so. We hope you're having a good evening. And because Bo Edge thinks so. That is right. By the way, speaking of Bo Edge, we are the Outsiders, brought to you by Poncho. Take a good look, kids. Look at that poncho.
Don't forget the sleeve.
The San Jacinto Longhorn logo. You've been asking for it. The text is on the sleeve. You've been asking for it, and now it exists. Now I'll show it to you if you want to envision it on yourself and not Bo Edge. Here it is. Beautiful, ready to roll. PonchoOutdoors.com. Make sure you mention Orange Bloods Live when you make your order. Also, kids, do you know who the quarterback was last time Texas hosted as the number one team in the country?
Doesn't he wear poncho?
This guy. You're damn right he wears poncho. Chance Mock. That's who it was back in 2008. First and foremost, let's introduce the Outsiders to you. The quarterback is right there. That's the Mock 5. It's Chance Mock. Chance, happy number one Monday. How are you?
Hey, this is our first Victory Monday where we can say we're number one since 2008.
Yeah, 16 years.
Long time.
It is a while.
It's been a drought.
Yeah, the quarterback in the T formation is the country gorilla Bo Edge. Bo Edge, happy number one Monday. How we feeling?
Scared but happy.
Scared but happy. Story of his life. I'm Chad Hastings. Jason Dick is not with us tonight. He's feeling a little under the weather. Jason, get better soon. We'll hopefully see you on Wednesday where you can brag about being ahead in the picks, but we'll get to that on Wednesday. By the way, Chance Mott, congratulations. You came closer than anybody to the Texas total. You got 1 point away. You had 55-10. Congrats to Blake, the super producer. He nailed the opponent total. He said UTSA would score 7, but everybody picked Texas in a rout. It was a rout. It was a different kind of rout. It did result in a number one ranking, but we're going to dig into that tonight. If you want to jump in the chat, feel free to do that. Eric and a whole bunch of others are already in there. We're getting good reminders from folks like Mitchell. Smack that like button. We would appreciate it if you did like and subscribe and get your notifications. Hook 'em emojis are all over the place. And if you send us a super chat, it will go right to the top of the list. Guys, Texas number one. By way of comparison, Texas 08, last time they hosted as the number one team. 3-0 record or better. You guys want to take a guess when the last time A&M did that at Kyle Field? 3-0 record or better as the number one team in the country.
Never?
It has happened.
1939.
1939 is 2 times away. It's happened 1 time since then.
74.
Woo! Not quite that.
I feel like this is a scene from Billy Madison, and Chad's going to start taking his shirt off.
Easy,
1967.
Chance, easy on the 1970s. Okay, calm down. 1957 is the last time it happened. So the last time it happened for Texas, Barack Obama had not been elected president. The last time it happened for the Aggies, John F. Kennedy had not been elected president of the United States. So there you go. There's your comparison, folks.
There's your Chris Bennett.
There it is. Just before Chris Bennett could throw it in. We do have a super chat already from Phil. What's up, Phil? Thank you for the $5. Ethan Burke reminds with his size and speed, reminds me of Shane Dronette, all Southwest Conference D end in 90 and 91. He also had a good NFL career. Great play by Ethan Burke on that interception, guys. Shane Dronette, is that a fair comp?
I can see the comparison I think he's tenacious. I think he uses his bull rush well, and then he mixes it up with the speed move to the inside. That's nice. Other than that, I mean, that's about where and he's white.
I would go with a slightly bulkier version of Brian Robeson.
Dude, Brian was pretty big, bro.
Huh?
Brian was pretty bulky.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's something about Burke just keeps getting bigger. But there's that athleticism from other sports with Burke playing lacrosse and other things. There's just something about his fit, like the way he moves in space isn't like a typical defensive lineman. And that was what Brian Robeson did so well.
Yeah, Robinson was excellent. I don't know if I quite that's I don't know. That's not a bad comp either. It was a hell of a play, and I didn't even see it the right way until I rewatched the game. I didn't realize that it bounced off that offensive lineman's back. I thought I thought he had just reached out and snagged it, but to catch it off the carom, it's a tough thing to do. This officially makes us probably the only show that started with that play instead of something with the quarterback. So thank you, Phil. Well done. Well done. With a little $5 super chat. That's nice. Chance, somebody did throw this in for you, which will get us to quarterbacks. Eric says, Chance, with all the love for Arch, will it fade with the growing pains?
I think it's like anything else, right? We're in the middle of a campaign season, and there's ebbs and flows, and it's the same thing with this. Right now, there's a super high on Arch, and we'll get into it. And look, Arch Manning is damn good. There was a lot of plays there where you could see why Quinn's a starter. We'll start with the backside blitz coming from the DB that he completely missed it. Yeah. Experienced quarterback doesn't miss that. So I think Texas fans can be excited for the fact that going into ULM, Arch is going to be just fine. He's going to be just fine. Going into Mississippi State, he's going to be just fine. And it buys time. I think the best part is it buys time for Quinn to be where he needs to be to come back when he's ready, right? But that being said, if this team wants to go places, it's going to go on the right arm of Quinn Ewers. That's just where it is. And if Texas wants to win right now, Quinn is your guy. And that's not knocking Arch, at all. But for Christ's sake, when ESPN blast out his Heisman odds have gone from 150 to 1 to 20 to 1, and that's what they send out on the notification to anybody in the world that has the ESPN app and follows Texas football. Come on, stop.
Yeah, Bo, there's magic around the dude. I don't know about fading with growing pains. I'm not saying Texas fans are going to explode when he makes mistakes, but they're kind of in love right now.
Well, of course they are. And it was the perfect opponent and the perfect timing. And he made some really nice plays. The run was incredible. I thought possibly the best throw he made was the first throw he made to DeAndre Moore for the touchdown, because that wasn't his first read. It wasn't just hey, here's a patty cake throwing out.
Sark said it was his third read today.
No, he had to buy time, slide in the pocket, and he hit. It was a good throw. But, like the touchdown to Ryan Wingo, I was at the stadium. I could, the corner slipped on the play. Like, Ryan Wingo had 20 yards of separation from a ghost. Like, if you didn't make the throw, then there's a problem. It's not a knock on Arch. Arch had a hell of a game. But there were a couple plays where he needs to mature still. And Texas fans need to take a big old deep breath and understand it was UTSA, not Oklahoma, not Georgia, not defenses designed to throw really elaborate blitz schemes at him. If you don't think Brent Venables is dying for Arch Manning to be back there while he's drawing on his whiteboard the next 3 weeks, you're damn right he is. Because the thing of Quinn, a year ago, had a big half against Alabama before. Once again, he got hurt. But there were also growing pains after that. If people remember the Oklahoma State game with Quinn, after Quinn had done amazing things and beat Oklahoma and all these things, there's bad games coming when you're young and defensive coordinators get to dial up some special stuff. Notice how I said stuff there. I'm trying to be good now that we're not allowed to, use profanity.
We're still allowed to. We just have to sneak it in.
I don't want to have to put money in your mom's quarter box that's going to pay for you to get a haircut.
You got to do. It's like that little kid. Have you ever seen the picture of the kid or the meme of the kid that's sitting in the back seat and he's like, bullshit. It's bullshit. Bullshit. See, I'm saying BOOSHICK. Bullshit. I'm not cussing. But like in all reality, Quinn, so looking at the question a different angle, than I read it, because I read it with his. If you're looking at it, I think Arch is going to have, and this is a weird comparison, I think Arch is going to have the same kind of leash that Major had throughout his career. I think the fans are going to have more patience with Arch than they have with a lot of quarterbacks. I mean, I saw it on X this weekend, with an Orange Bloods post that I made a comment about, is it the best room? And, it astonishes me that people forget how good Chris was, and they forget a lot of the mistakes that Major made. He had a lot of bonehead plays, but they forgot. But Chris, in many ways, much like I was like a new puppy. I can go take a leak in the grass 100 times, but the one time I piss on the rug, that's all you remember. Like, that's it, right? Like, you forget the 100 other times that I went outside, but the one time I pee on the rug, it's a real issue. Well, Arch is going to have, because his name of his family has earned it, the same love that Major had.
What I hope is, in this analogy of dogs peeing in grass, and nobody needs to see Chance pee in his front yard, but
I said if I was a puppy, Bo.
Well,
Puppy.
okay.
Puppy
What I'm saying is,
like
I'm
young.
hoping.
I pee in the backyard like a civilized human, okay?
Yeah, me too.
Arch
That's
was
what it's
young.
for. When Quinn comes back, most likely against Oklahoma, although I guess in theory it could be Mississippi State, but I really think that if Sark has his druthers, they'll just hold Quinn out until Oklahoma so they can unleash an unknown on Venables and his staff, to where they have to prepare for Arch and for Quinn, because Arch's running is something that Oklahoma, if there's a chance Arch is playing, they have to be prepared for it, and they have to scheme or at least practice for it. But the first time Quinn throws an incomplete pass because he hasn't thrown a pass in a game setting for 3 weeks, or the first time, like in game 1 where he makes a bobble misstep and throws a pick, I hope the fan base doesn't go insane and think that he should be benched for Arch. Like, yes, it was UTSA, but to start the game, he was 14 of 16 for 180 and 2 touchdowns. Quinn was doing everything within the offense that Sark wanted him to do. Don't overreact because Arch had a great game against UTSA. The Texas State quarterback had a great game against UTSA. I am so excited for Arch and what he can be. And if Jason was here, he'd be slobbering over himself. He may be anyway, but
no, that's why Jason's out. You realize that, right? Jason is out because he injured his vocal cords screaming about how good Arch was and how he told us all. I mean, that's realistically, he's sitting at home with an ice pack on his throat from all the yelling he did for Arch.
Yeah, it's that we're just hoping he can recover for in time on Wednesday to talk more about Arch Manning. We'll talk about Arch. We'll talk about Quinn. If you were there, let us know what you thought about it and what you're thinking moving forward. We'll get into all the different angles of it. We'll also take a look at Chance's updated SEC rankings. Wonder who's going to be on top of the SEC power poll this week. We'll get into that, but
Florida.
First, it might be Florida. You never know. Could be Florida as a weird political statement. We will see. But first, let's see that cool truck from Covert Ford.
With Covert Ford of Austin, all season we're bringing the football fun to you with unbeatable deals on our all-new Ford F-150s. Whether you're tailgating with friends or cruising to the big game, our powerful trucks are your perfect MVP. Come experience the rugged performance and cutting-edge features that make every drive an experience. Touchdown savings await at Covert Ford of Austin, a family tradition since 1909. CovertFord.com.
Covert Ford, right there on 183, is your home to get those beautiful Ford F-150s, the F-250s, the Super Duties, the Raptors. If you're looking for the Bronco Raptor, they have the entire Ford Mustang line. Whatever you need, Covert Ford has it. And they're not just there to sell you a vehicle. They're there to sell you a lifestyle. They'll service your vehicle. They're always there. There's always a Covert on the showroom floor. Usually it's Kenny right there on 183. Go see our boy Chris Abbott. Tell him you heard about it on the Outsiders, and he'll do his best to get you a good deal. Remember, they're closed on Saturdays because it's Longhorn Day. They're open on Sundays. It's Covert Ford.
Hope you guys are having a great Monday. If you love your Texas football, you got to be having a good Monday. You're number one in the country after all. Chance?
So
Look at this. When you're number one in the country, everybody's got something to say. Well, I'm going to Chad. If I could just real quick, can I get it? Well, yeah.
just one. No, look, I want to say one thing about not take away all the other stuff. The great thing that came out of this weekend with the performance that Arch Manning put on is recruiting wise. How many young receivers can you right now go to and be like, hey, come to Texas. This is your dude. This is who's going to be throwing to you. And I mean, it's the best way it could have worked out because he got to go in early. I mean, I know Bo and I were hoping it would be in the second quarter, but not the way that it occurred after Quinn gets twisted around on a freaking handoff of all things. But
it was the play before.
It was the twist on a handoff.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was just going,
bro. Yeah.
But then
the throw to Gunnar Helm.
No. Before that, if you watch, he hands the ball off, and there's a defensive lineman coming around, and he goes to get out of the way, and the guy grabs his shoulder pads and twists him, and that's when it happened because he started grabbing. Then he throws the ball to Gunnar. By the way, badass ball, and what a play by Gunnar, Mister. I'm telling you, the dude, he is all that bullshit that we hear coming out of camp about how athletic he is. It was not bullshit. It was really true.
Yeah, it's one of the best notes we had. Honestly, it's one of the best notes that I saw on orangebloods.com in the spring that kind of flipped everybody out. They kind of ignored it, but the comments about how athletic Helm looked from a source, I think Anwar had it, and it was dead on. I mean, he just keeps looking really, really good. But yet, Chance, that throw, he's got the hand, he kind of dinged up his thumb or something early. Then he's got the abdominal thing. By the way, Jeff Ketchum had some intel today that there may have been the abdominal thing going into the game that they thought he could deal with and he was ready to play through, and then they kind of tweaked it up in the game. And if you missed it, it's questionable for Quinn this week. And Sark did say that once the injury report world starts in the SEC next week, he will be listed as questionable. So still a chance he could be the quarterback against ULM, but you kind of get the feeling, Bo, you said it, that it's going to at least be this game, maybe two, because if you go two, you really get 3 weeks because of the off week before OU.
Well, and I was texting Chance, and I was wrong, Chance. And when I'm wrong, I admit it, Outsider Nation. I was wrong. But you remember how I was talking about how it'd be great if Arch could get some second quarter reps against a real defense? Quinn sits down, and from the stands, now, keep in mind, we don't have replay. We didn't see the things that we all saw. It literally looked like the way he was stretching and gesticulating and moving. I'm like, he's pretending to have a cramp. Sark came up with this scheme and got Quinn to buy in. And
wow, you saw that in warm-ups?
No, bro.
Hey, Quinn, you're going to get better with your acting for your Dr. Pepper commercial. Play like you have a cramp. Come off to an applause. We'll send you into the tunnel for a little while. You can have some water, and then we'll bring you back out. Because what better way to actually have Arch acclimate to a game than come in trial by fire? Not at a set time that, the conspiracy theorist in me was like, Chance, he's coming back. Oh. Everything's fine. This is just smart Sark.
This is Bo's text. Okay, we're talking about it, and he didn't say anything bad. So but this was his exact words. As it happens, I get a text. That was a really great acting by Quinn. Executing Sark's plan to get Arch reps early. Surprise! And then I went, that would be hysterical. He goes, my theory till proven otherwise. If so, that dude thinks of every angle.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, Bo, you mentioned about what you hope how you hope the fans would react, if Quinn comes back or whatever. I think the part of this and when we've been talking about what is this going to be, and we've done different shows about the craziness that this is and how unique it is, and now you're watching it play out. But so far, it feels like Sark, Quinn, and Arch are all on the same page and they understand what's going on. But the next level, Bo, is that I feel like the fan base understands it. I feel like they get what's happening here. And anytime they sense that we are even kind of saying, hey, what about Arch? What about this? If they even sense that we're talking quarterback controversy, even if we're not, they will jump on it and say, wait a minute, Quinn's the guy. Hold on. Wait a second. Like, I feel like the fans are understanding this whole thing because Quinn has given him a reason to. Like, he's given them a reason to trust him and want him to play.
Then apparently everybody that was in Section 5 of Memorial Stadium while I was standing there is different than the people you're talking to. Because literally the entire stadium had anointed Arch. After the run, like, Arch could have spiked himself and then hit the ref in the face with a football. And they were still ready for it to be Arch Manning time forever.
You're telling me they were calling for – it wasn't just that they enjoyed it. It wasn't just that they were popping for him and that he's Arch Manning. You're telling me they believe he is now the quarterback and Quinn should never play again.
I wouldn't go that far, but they definitely – what's the Italian word? Fugazi? They fell for the Fugazi. Like, they fell for the plays and they fell in love with it, and they don't see any wrong. You know, I'm the a-hole in the stands that when Chance mentioned the backside blitz, from where we were sitting, you could see it coming before the play even started. You're like, he's coming.
He started creeping midway through the snap count. Like, it was not.
I know. And Arch drops back and just eats it right in the back. And it's like, you got to get rid of that football. And no, it's one play and it's not a big deal. But what I'm saying is those are the plays that freshmen have because he didn't recognize the blitz. Not that everybody would have or anything like that. That's what years and years of film study, years and years of Sark tutelage. You know, Chance, tell me if I'm wrong, but once it's been ingrained in your head, at junior level, you go up looking for it because you know the down and distance and know what the other team's trying to do on defense. So you kind of have an idea in your head of where they're going to try to attack you. Am I correct there?
Well, yes, and this is the outsider, so I don't want to get into the weeds too much, but yes. So when you watch film, you're watching film and you're looking for several different things. You're looking at down and distance. What tendencies is a coach bringing on first down, first and regular, first and short, first and long, first and off schedule? What is he bringing on second down? What does he like to bring in third? And that's the things that you're studying and you're learning, and those things have all been charted, and you know percentiles of what they like to do, and these are the tendencies that you see, and you know where it's at. So when you get under center, or in today's world, you don't get under center, you just stand in the shotgun, and you have a better view of the field, and you're looking for those tendencies. You know what's coming. So I guarantee you, this is what's great about Arch, though. This is what you can be excited about with Arch, is that you know when that game was over and he talked to his dad. I mean, I'm not even saying Peyton and Eli, but when he talked to his dad and then later when he talked to Archie, the first thing they're going to talk about is, hey, that was great, but hey, we got to talk about this. Why'd you miss this? Because that's the way the Mannings are. It's about perfection. It's about what do we learn from this outing? Okay, yeah, great. You threw touchdowns. You had a guy wide open, but let's work on the things that we need to work on. So that's why I think he's going to be great. And I think Feinbaum's right. I think he will be a Heisman. He'll be in New York by the time he leaves Austin, Texas. But right now it's Quinn's team. And anybody that doesn't realize that, the only people I'm hearing screaming for Arch Manning are Sooners and Aggies because they know that that's not the best situation for Texas to be in.
Well, but I will say this, going back to what Chad had brought up earlier before I took it on a tangent, this is the best scenario for what Sark wants to do with Arch because he gets a week where I don't care what the injury report says or questionable this or questionable that. The world knows Quinn isn't playing. The team knows Quinn isn't playing because there's no need to play Quinn Ewers because it doesn't do any good. Like, we should be able to beat ULM with Trey Owens at quarterback. We should be able to just run it down their throat if we want to. Point being, Sark gets to see how Arch prepares the whole week. How does he swallow the game plan? How does he come up with his own thoughts? You know, Chance, like I said, when the coach is showing you the game plan, you're like, hey, I really like this throw, or hey, I'd really rather see this throw. It's not democratic, but there's a style to it where the coach is eliciting comments from the QB that's going to be in the game about what he wants to see and what play packages. So this gives Sark a chance to work with Arch in that scenario and not in a test lab. No, this is real life for a real game, and potentially two, which is just better preparing next year's team and Arch for what could come later on down the line.
Yeah. Sark answered questions very calmly today. He did not officially say this is Quinn's team. I don't know that Arch will say that, but it feels like they're all going off of that idea. Sark had all the pins for all the hand grenades today, as he has before. It's a very calm, collected way of going about it. And again, Quinn listed as questionable. He's saying it is a day-to-day thing, moving forward with that abdominal strain for Quinn Ewers.
And one other thing, because I've seen it on the chats and I've seen it all over Twitter, I wouldn't put a pin in Quinn's Heisman chances quite yet, because there's so much more time and there's some big games on the horizon that stats will be damned if Quinn plays Georgia here and outduels Carson Beck with a big stat line. Quinn jumps right back up to the top of the pile because no one else has acquitted themselves so well that they're so far ahead of everybody else.
Can I give you one name? Jalen Milroe last year. He didn't get taken out of a game because he was hurt. He got benched because he sucked. And he was still in the conversation at the end of the year. And you're telling me Quinn can't put that together? No. I'm not buying. I think he's just as much alive as he ever was.
Yeah, Chad, you got it. Effectively boring. It's exactly what Sark was today, just like he is at all the good press conferences. Did what he needed to do and got out. No controversies created at all. All right, it is The Outsiders, brought to you by Poncho, rolling through this quarterback discussion. Texas is the number one team in the country. Chance, let's talk about a little Arch. We've talked some Arch Manning. Why don't you tell them a little bit about Arch Public?
I mean, all I can tell you about Arch Public is if you're looking to score touchdowns like Quinn was, both of them were actually. They were all scoring touchdowns. If you want touchdowns, you want to go to Arch Public. My buddy Tillman Holloway and his crew. I'm not the financial guru, but I do know how to align myself with smart people that are. And what they've done is they've taken the AI and the bot technology that all the major hedge funds are using, and they've applied it to you. Here's the best thing. The money is in your account. Nobody touches your money except for you. And it's fully liquid. You can withdraw money out of that account every day. Matter of fact, I've got a friend that I turned on to it who's in retirement at this point. He put enough money in there that the return he's getting every month, he just scrapes it and keeps that initial investment in there. And he's living off $6,000, $7,000 every single month just on what Arch Public's doing. Look at this. Over the last 90 days, plus 20% on your money. I've told y'all, I'm about 30% since I started with them. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. All I'm telling you is I can set up the meeting. And that's what you want to do. You want to go talk to the guys at Arch Public. Scan that QR code or shoot me a message at Chance Mock on Twitter. I will check it, and I will get you hooked up with Tillman and the crew. All I can do is lead you to water. I can't make you drink. But if you want to get really, really hydrated, you need to call the people at Arch Public.
Speaking of hydrated, we'll be back on Wednesday for a What Are You Drinking Wednesday here on the Outsiders. And again, get well soon.
If he shows up, maybe this will go down.
That's right. There you go. Hopefully, Jason will be back with us on Wednesday. We'll make some picks on Wednesday as well. I am scanning. I do not see any super chats right now, but if you want to throw them in there, they will go right to the top of the list. Obviously, the quarterback stuff ends up being a part of the game, fellas. Also, leading into the game, there were a couple Longhorns that didn't play, and Sark was asked about him today. Jaden Blue. Sounds like Jaden Blue may be able to go this week. We'll see on that. Also, who was Jelani McDonald didn't play this week, and I think he said he would be all right, that he's another guy that they think he's making good progress. So
I wouldn't play Blue.
No.
There's not a snowball's chance in hell I'd play. You've got too many young guys that look really, really good that are more than adequate for this week. Take that time and get help. There's a grind coming. Texas fans, look, I looked and I see the odds makers and where they're putting each game. Texas is now favored in every game that they're going to play the rest of the season as it sits today, okay? But don't let that get to your head. This is a grind that's coming up. You're going to have Arkansas, physical, Oklahoma. They're going to play. Oklahoma, I think, looks like shit. Stutzman's playing well. I don't care what anybody says. He is doing a lot on that defense. Georgia, obviously, going to be really good. A&M, I think they found their quarterback. I know you hate here. You want to talk about a quarterback controversy? There's more of a controversy in A&M because I sat there and watched him play against McNeese, and I thought, damn, this Reed kid's he's freaking good. But it's McNeese. It's the same thing. Well, he went into Florida, which it's a shitty Florida team. I get it. He still went on the road, and he's able to move the pocket. He's able to do things with his leg. I think he's the better quarterback right now.
All right, if you want to throw in a super chat, we will take those. We're getting some good chats in, like from Renee. Guys, I appreciate your comments and heads-up analysis. Bo, you are right. It's Quinn's team. Think about all he has done right. Please do not make it a quarterback controversy, as nobody wants that. Yeah, Renee, I sense the same thing. I don't know that there's going to be that. I think there has to be a healthy balance of what Bo witnessed in the stands and then what actually needs to happen. The difference is, and you guys both know this, and one of you knows it as well as anybody would know it, but it is about those moments. Something will happen. Somebody was talking about growing pains. It's about how the fans will deal with those moments, how they would deal with Arch having a little bit of struggle, but also, Bo, to your point, if Quinn comes back, do they give him proper love to start, and then will they be at least a little patient if he makes a mistake, or does that rabble start? That's when you really hope the fans can prioritize everything in this season.
And that's where it depends on when Quinn actually comes back. Because if it's Mississippi State and Quinn makes a mistake, the fans are going to be fine with it. Because they know he'll recover and they'll give him enough breadth of time to catch up. If that mistake happens in Dallas, right out of the gate, first drive, and we know Quinn's been known to start a little slow, as he has in numerous big games, but he always finishes strong. Are they going to have the patience? Are they going to channel their Axl Rose and have a little patience to let Quinn get his sea legs back under him? Because it's not like, I guess you could say it's like riding a bike, but to go from not playing for 3 weeks and the last game he played was against UTSA to stepping on the field in Dallas, where there's already a little bit of a mental because he's lost last year. He's trying to make up for it. Could he come out a little over-adrenalized and, make a couple mistakes early? If that happens, I just hope the fans aren't chanting Arch, because that's how you lose the team for the season.
No,
let the coaches and the players handle that. The fans need to stay the bleep out of it.
Bo, let me. I'm going to take it one step farther. If Texas fans want to screw it up with recruits, start doing that crap. You want to run recruits off and say this is a crap culture, start doing that. So Texas fans, if you're smart, you appreciate you had a quarterback that was leading in the Heisman race who may have probably been able to continue to play depending on who we were playing. If this was a Georgia game, this is Oklahoma, I don't think he's coming out of the game. But you know what? It was one game. And if you are foolish enough as a fan base to make an issue out of this, you're going to run. I'm telling you right now, people will not want to be a part of it.
No, this is one of those crossroads moments for a program where it can go one of two ways. And Chad, this as an Aggie fan. This is not my intent to make fun of the Aggies here, but Texas fans forget in about, 14 or 15, when Sumlin was the hottest ticket in town, and he had the swag copter, and he had Kyle Allen, and now Kyler Murray's coming to town. A&M was the it program in the state of Texas. Sorry, but it was. And we were hoping Charlie Strong was going to deliver something different, but that's not where it was at that moment.
No, it was enough of an it program, Bo, that Texas made an adjustment away from Mac Brown to try and go combat what was happening in College Station because they felt Mac had gotten stale. That's how good A&M was doing.
I know. And if you ask Chad as an Aggie fan, the year when that season was starting and Kyle Allen was the QB and Kyler was the backup and everything was going to be all, we have a lineage at quarterback with 5 stars and we're going to get more and all the receivers are going to come here. All it takes is one moment where the train goes off the rails and can't get back on it, and it can derail a ton of momentum. That's why, when Chance said it, and he is in a much more astute position to say these type of things, but Longhorn fans, if you really are Longhorn fans, take a breath and let it play out. Don't be trying to encourage the decision-making from the stands or you can go from your couch because nobody can hear you there. But don't bring that noise to the stadium because it can influence so much. The Georgia game, Let's say Texas does beat Oklahoma and Quinn's the guy. The Georgia game is going to be the biggest recruiting game for Texas this year. Don't let them hear you, whispering in the stands or chanting the backup's name when they're there, because nothing will make them not want to come here more than thinking the fans don't have their back.
It's going to obviously be a little bit of a challenge possibly at times, but there's also examples out there, fellas, I think, my personal opinion, of home fan bases that are getting it all wrong in 2024. I know sometimes your team doesn't play perfect, but are y'all hearing the amount of booing at home that teams are eating in college football this year? Just out and out fans booing their own team. Oklahoma's fans have turned on them in 2 different games. They won them both, but they got a little sluggish and they've booed them a little bit. I'm like, what are y'all doing?
You know why that is, right? That is a direct byproduct of NIL. It's pure jealousy, because when the players are flaunting their Lambos and their stacks of money and they're doing all these things, then the fans become entitled to feel like they, if they contributed their $20 to the Texas One Fund, then those players should behave better, or they'll, different, like perform better. We got you a Lamborghini. You're not allowed to drop a pass, or you're not allowed to miss a tackle. Like, there becomes an entitlement from the fan base because they don't have that affiliation to the players. When players are in a program for 4 and 5 years and around the fan programs and signing autographs for kids, like even though you saw the video clips of Arch signing autographs for kids on the field, when players are around for 3 or 4 years, there becomes a familial bond with the fans. When everybody's shuttling in and out and portaling here and there, there's not that loyalty both ways. Like, let's be real, the players don't have that kind of loyalty to the program sometimes. Sometimes the fans lose that loyalty in the players because it's a year-to-year proposition.
Yeah. Well, Chance, I want you to talk to this. Chris Bennett sent this earlier, which I think is in a way unfair, but I can get you to a different conversation. It says, Chance, what was the locker room like during Sims and Major back and forth? Again, to me, there's an ingredient on both these guys that's different, because Quinn Ewers has much more of a resume that he's put out in front of the fans than what Major did. And I'm sorry, Chris Sims was not that magical. I'm not saying he wasn't good. I'm not saying he didn't have moments. But fellas, that pop at DKR for Arch, y'all only pop like that for a handful of guys, like ever. That is a magical moment, like you can't explain it kind of stuff. I think to bring up Sims and Major is an insult to both of those guys. I think it's an insult to Quinn and Arch, in my opinion.
I think if you were going to, it was mentioned earlier, and I think Jeff even mentioned it on the, I don't want it to be about me, but I think the more relevant equation was when Vince came on the field, because there was that same buzz when Vince came on the field as when Arch did. Yeah. And then Vince bust a long run against New Mexico State, and it's like, oh, there's the, that was the exciting thing. But here's where I think there's a big difference. The locker room was already split because Major wasn't a Mac guy. Major was from the Makovic era. Yeah. A lot of the guys that were on Major's side were from the Makovic era, and Mac was bringing in his guys. And let's not forget, Mad Dog ran a lot of guys off. I mean, we all talked about what Prime did running people off, but Mad Dog ran a lot of people off because Mac wanted to rebuild the team in his image, right? You want to get your guys in there. And he did it strategically. He found the guys that he knew, guys like Ricky, like Wayne, like Kwame, those guys, Major, whatever. But he had his guys. Vince and I were the same. We were under Coach Brown. We all came in together. We were all part of the family. There was never a division in that locker room, ever. Matter of fact, there's a lot of those receivers that will tell you, the big-time receivers, the 5-stars that will tell you they were pissed when Vince took over. They didn't want Vince to take over, but what did they do? They did exactly what they were supposed to. They went to work because that's what the University of Texas needed. And I think that's the same way that this crew looks at it.
Yeah. Chris Bennett, as always, thank you for checking us out from Washington State, brother. We hope you're having a good night. Texas getting ready for ULM. Remember, you have until Saturday night to figure out ESPN Plus. If you're a little on the older side and you're like me, you freak out about streaming stuff, ESPN Plus. It's this week. By the way, if you're watching the Aggie game this week, same thing. A&M Bowling Green, ESPN Plus. Texas, ESPN Plus. Practice this week, old folks. It is your opportunity. I'm going to try to get it figured out myself. If you want to send us a super chat, it will go right to the top of the list. Chance, I like the comment about, Vince is interesting, and that's where Bo, back to the reaction in the stands. This is where Quinn has got to. Hopefully, Quinn's got this dialed up the right way, and hopefully Sark's able to talk to him about it and everything. Everybody's been talking for the last day or so about, oh my God, can you imagine being in the tent and you're hurt and you hear the crowd pop? And it's like, well, he knows the crowd's going to pop. This is not his first day with Arch Manning. This is not his first day hanging with Arch. It's going to sound different because he's Arch, because he's magic. We said today for those wrestling people, Arch is stone cold. All right? He's stone cold Steve Austin. And he probably gets the pop that nobody else gets. But that doesn't mean they don't love Quinn. And it doesn't mean that they don't appreciate Quinn. And it doesn't mean that they don't understand that he needs to be the guy if he's healthy. That's at least what it feels like to me from the outside. And now you just hope it can all play out that way. But I dig the way, if I was a Texas fan, I would really dig the way Sark is handling this, because Bo, he's so calm through this whole thing. He doesn't feel nervous. It doesn't feel political. It doesn't feel like he's trying to talk his way in and out of it like Mac was with Sims and Apple. You could feel Mac's politics when he said 3 words back then. Sark just feels like he knows exactly what this is.
Well, and yes, and what's made it work is that he's not using a bunch of coach speak. And I think what makes it work is Quinn has evolved as a human being. Quinn is a different Quinn Ewers than when he got to Texas. He's become an adult. Everybody talks about getting rid of the mullet and cleaning up the way he shaves his facial hair, but all those things are indicative of someone that's growing up and getting ready to be a professional athlete. That's the old Bull Durham. You can have mold on your shower shoes when you get to if you win 20 in the show, people call you colorful. You do it in the minors, you're a slob. Well, it's that, you can do those kind of things if you're at that level. And Quinn has reached the mental capacity that I think Quinn's okay with it. Like, I'm not worried about Quinn Ewers, because you can see a different, if this happens last year and we don't have Malik Murphy, if the games that Malik came in, like Kansas State, when he was, love Malik, but when he was skipping screen passes on the ground, if Arch came in and had done really well, it could have been a much bigger problem, because Quinn hadn't matured and had the successes in those other games, like the Big 12 championship and other games, to put his name at the top of the pile. Now I don't think it's a problem. I think last year, if this would have happened and Arch would have been the primary backup, it could have been a huge problem, because then it would have been something rolling year to year to year, and it would have affected everything. I think the team knows who their leader is. I think the coaches know who their leader is. And I think even Arch and Quinn know who the leader is, and they're okay with it. So now I think it's okay. And I don't want it to be misportrayed that I'm calling out the fan base. I get it. Arch is the shiny toy, and everybody wants to cheer for him when he gets on the field. And of course he busts a 67-yard run where he looked like an athletic wide receiver and not a quarterback. So yes, I get all of that. All I said was tap the brakes a little bit and remember who brought you to the dance. Quinn Ewers was a Heisman Trophy favorite for a reason. He's still the guy. Let him heal his stomach and let him come do what he does.
Yeah. Guys, Arch Manning didn't really run faster than Tyreek Hill, did he? That didn't happen, did it? No?
He was at 21 is what they said.
21 still silly. That's amazing.
But I want to real quick. I apologize, but Bo said something there, and it's funny because I was thinking about this literally today. And it's funny that you mentioned Quinn's mullet. And I've got this picture that sits on just because it cracks me up. But I was thinking about it today. I'm pumping gas at a Circle K or something, I don't know. And I was just thinking about my time at Texas and Quinn's development. And I'm thinking about this exact scenario because, I've lived the scenario, but in a different way. Because although I was being mentioned in Heisman conversations, I wasn't on the preseason watch list, and I wasn't certainly at the front of the list by any stretch of the imagination. But that picture right there, I mean, that's, I went with the long hair and I had the beard. And
Hang on, hold on. Throw it back up there. I missed it. Yeah, we got to see that big. Yeah, baby. Look at that.
You also had an orange tattoo on your ass.
Yeah.
The ladies.
But my point being, I was thinking about it in the car and I was like, what a luxury that Quinn had. I didn't have the chance to grow up like Quinn did. I didn't have the chance to to find the maturity that he did, because he came in and he was going to do his own thing and I was going to do my own thing. Like I was damn set on doing my own thing because I felt like an outsider. Our show, I felt like an outsider because I felt the pressure from the fans that they wanted to have Vince and everything else, and I was going to do my own thing. I wish I would have had the opportunity to grow up like Quinn did, and to play the part of the Colt McCoy or, the Quinn Ewers like he is now, or the, Sam Ellinger, whatever, just the clean cut, just go do your job. Because I had a very bad boy mentality, because I felt the fans. I felt that they wanted to see Vince. And I felt that I had been overlooked because I came to Texas with a 5-star in front of me, knowing that I needed to develop much like Arch did. I felt like I had done everything that I was supposed to do. I had outplayed Vince to that point by far. It wasn't even close. And I still wasn't getting any love from the fans. I was getting more love from Kirk Herbstreit on the national scene than our own fans. That's how I felt. And so it's funny that you brought up the hair, Bo, because I think that it's a very interesting thing to how he's going to handle the next 2 weeks. I think he's extremely comfortable in who he is right now. I think he knows where he's going, and I think he's fine. And I think everybody in that team knows who the leader in that room is, and I hope the fans remember that.
Talking a lot of Texas football, obviously, tonight. Texas #1 team in America. Bo, why don't we talk to the folks about Star Ranch? When Jason Dick talks about Star Ranch, he says birdies are available. He says eagles are available. I don't believe him. I believe you when you talk about such things at Star Ranch.
Well, the way I hit it these days, I don't know if anything's available but an up and down par, but that's okay because at Star Ranch, it's good for all skill levels. It's wide open. It's got great greens where anybody can make putts. That doesn't mean everybody will make putts. It means everybody has an opportunity. If they stroke their putt correctly, the ball will go in the hole. It's fun. There's birdie holes. There's par holes. And yes, as Jason says, there are eagle available holes. It's a varying mix of golf holes in a setting that's just fun. There's no other way to put it. It's why we host my charity tournament out there every single year, because it's fun for all skill levels. 252 golf is the number. That's very easy to remember. 252 golf. Jason's not sick. He went and played 36 holes at Star Ranch and got baked in the sun like those of us that were at DKR and didn't drink enough water. Jason will be back on Wednesday, and you can go get ready for it by going to Star Ranch. There's just no better place to play an enjoyable round of afternoon golf than Star Ranch.
The only thing that may be available is an up and down par. Did y'all hear him say that like it's some horrible?
I think most people that have played golf with me recently know that's the case.
Horrible thing. Bo, hey, you know what happens if I get an up and down par? I buy drinks. That's what happens if I get an up and down par. You kidding me?
Okay, I'm dying. Are y'all reading the chats, by the way?
Oh yeah.
I mean the Arnold pulls his own finger.
Like they're going at each other again. It's great.
It's so great.
All we're missing is Cody Carpentier, or I'm never going to get it right, but I'm bad with names. But Cody jumping in the chat with some expert, analysis. He's probably too busy watching Bijan Robinson and the Falcons right now for fantasy purposes. But
what are we getting? Are we getting a little Jackson Arnold breakdown in the chat? Is that what this is?
Yes. What is
the discussion?
Well, apparently, if you just go down the chats, it is so much fun just watching all the. Arnold has nightmares of lizard people.
I see.
Arnold fears contrails.
Okay. Likes his toilet paper under versus over. Okay, I got you. All right, fair enough.
These two are going at it. I wonder if they actually know each other or they're just chat enemies.
I don't know.
Arnold screams in the corner of his bedroom every night.
Man, they are getting after it. All right, why don't we take a look at Chance Mock's power poll? Should we do that?
Let's do it. It's time to pick me apart.
Every week, Chance Mock is a part of. How many people make the picks at the Houston Chronicle in this group, Chance?
There are 13.
13 different people. Chance puts his power poll in. So is this what you have already turned in, or are we helping you before you turn it in?
No, this is what this went out. It had to be out by the end of the last SEC game on Saturday night is when I have to send the polls in. Full disclosure, last weekend I was staying up late to watch that Mississippi State game. And Texas had beaten Michigan, and I had gone seen the Fighting Texas Aggies and Kyle Field, and it had been a long day. And I may have fallen asleep. And then I woke up in my recliner at 3:30 in the morning and realized I forgot to hit send. They were not happy with me, but I have returned with strong showing, I believe.
Well, let's take a look. They are now the number 1 team in the country. Does Chance Mock have the Longhorns on top of the SEC Power Rankings? Here we go. Oh, there they are, right there on top. Chance Mock, explain yourself.
Well, look, I sat and watched intently that Georgia versus Kentucky game, and I was absolutely blown away. Anything can happen in a Saturday night in the SEC on the road. I get it, blah, blah, blah. They escaped with the win. BS. I think I was shocked that Georgia was not able to show their will like I think that should be. So I went ahead and made the jump. Alabama, really good right now. Looks really good. Ole Miss does what they do. Tennessee's a weird one for me because I don't know how they're going to be against stronger teams. They've got a flashy offense. They had the same offense, 5, 6, 7 years ago maybe when Josh Dobbs was there and they had Alvin Kamara. They were a great offense, but when they ran up against some of those bigger teams inside that were able to control the line of scrimmage, create chaos in the backfield. So I just want to see some more. Missouri, good Lord, Missouri, they had to struggle. LSU, I think LSU should have caught the L. They did not in South Carolina, so I bumped South Carolina up. Oklahoma just sucks. Kentucky, they get a little love for pushing around Georgia. Florida, the only reason they're at 12 and not at 14 is because I think DJ Lagway is really good and they should probably stick to him. Arkansas, they just try to find ways to lose ball games. Vanderbilt is what it is. Auburn showed a little life with the new quarterback. Mississippi State, dear God, they're bad.
Yeah, when Toledo beats you, you're going to end up there. Bo, you got any issues with this?
We're nitpicking here because I think Chance did it's very close to what I would have. I would have Missouri ahead of Tennessee because I think Missouri has a veteran quarterback. I think Missouri, yes, they struggled against Boston College. Well, that's a sneaky Boston College team, and I think having that little bit of adversity for a team, they overcame it. They won the game. I think Missouri's better acclimated to be at the top of this list at the end. Tennessee right now, to me, is smoke and mirrors. They have a great young quarterback, but all they're beating up on is less thans. Let's see what happens when Tennessee plays a real team before I have them in the top 5. I'd have Missouri ahead of Tennessee, and as much as I hate to say it because I don't like Oklahoma, Oklahoma should be ahead of South Carolina and LSU because they're undefeated. And while South Carolina and LSU was a compelling game, what it looked like is neither one of them were worth a shit.
Tennessee, Oklahoma is 6:30 this Saturday evening. So we'll see how that might shake up the ranking.
I'm going to tell you, Chad, though, I have a weird, sneaky suspicion Oklahoma's going to make a hell of a game out of it.
Oh, I hate to say it, but I think Brent Venables has been waiting for Nico for 4 weeks.
I think he has been all over it. And like I said earlier in the show, I think Sussman's been playing really, really well. And he's a good leader on that defense. You may not like him, the goofy tattoo and the shirt shit, but he's a good linebacker. And that team rallies around him.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting game to watch this week, and to just see how they react. Oklahoma's had some sluggish games. Tennessee just hasn't, faced anything.
Chad, Tennessee kicked an onside kick when they were up 30-0.
Yeah, I can't believe I had not heard that till you told me. That's just silliness.
And I'm not a huge Brent Venables guy, and we can joke about him and the drinking water out of a fire hose, and you could go Ricky Stadicki on it if you wanted to and say what he was really doing with the fire hose. But bottom line, Brent Venables can coach defense. I'm sorry, but he can. He's a good defensive mind. And they didn't have much on their schedule. Like, and maybe that's part of the reason. I mean, they beat Tulane by 19, so it's not like they barely beat Tulane. I can't even say it. But if you don't think Brett Venables has been trying to decipher a way to get at Nico for more than a week, I just don't see it. Like that, it's like Sark picks matchups, and you see the game plan. The Michigan game plan was phenomenal to go side to side and make those D tackles get worn out early to where they could start pounding the rock late. Wasn't something Michigan saw coming because it wasn't something Texas had shown. And Oklahoma's been able to get by, and everybody that knows me knows I can't stand Oklahoma. But in this particular instance, I think Oklahoma is going to make a hell of a ball game out of this. People think Tennessee is going to win by – I mean, everybody I talk to thinks Tennessee is going to wipe the floor with them. Oklahoma is not Kent State. Oklahoma has players on defense that are good athletes, and I think Oklahoma is going to give them a hell of a game.
So, Chance, I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple other things here. Let me throw this back up real quick. For both of you, Chance obviously thought A&M needed to be in the top half. Bo, you agree with that? I think those first 6 teams are kind of obvious in different ways. Would you agree? Do you agree with the Aggies being right there at 7, or do you think there's somebody else that needs to be 7?
No, for once I'm on the Aggie side here. They lost to Notre Dame. It was the first game of the year, and
Connor Wegman played like dog shit.
They lost because their quarterback, to go Tate Martell on it, is ass. Well, they found a new quarterback that's just better, and he showed it against Florida. And I don't think Connor Wegman's getting back on the field for a little while because as long as Reed brings a different dimension to that offense, if you're going to have 1964 Colin Klein as your OC, give him a quarterback that's better acclimated to running the football like Reed. I'm sorry, but it gives him the entire playbook he wants to run. And Wegman, much like Quinn Ewers, you can't do that with Wegman because he can't stay healthy. Yeah, he can't be the running guy and stay healthy. Reed has shown that he can. So I'd ride the hot hand with Reed. There's no knock on Wegman. He still has incredible arm talent, and he has a future at the quarterback position. But right now you have a guy engineering that offense that looks good doing it. And Chance and I both said this before the season started, before the Notre Dame game when we both picked the Aggies wrongly, but I still stand by it. Their defense after that game proved a hell of a lot to me, and that defense will keep A&M in every game they play this year.
And also, like Quinn Ewers, there is an injury to keep an eye on with Wigman. They listed it as an AC joint injury, so there's a shoulder injury going on.
But it's going to be an extended AC joint injury because they don't want him coming back.
Can I get some clarity from the Aggie on this show on that? Because I'm very confused. Because the AC joint injury happened against Notre Dame.
Yes, they said it was something that happened against Notre Dame.
But then he felt the need to play against McNeese State and sit out against Florida. Does that not feel weird to you?
He re-aggravated it against McNeese State.
Re-aggravated it against McNeese State, yes. Aggravated the injury.
I think the coaches saw the tape and yeah, your shoulder's hurt, bud. We're putting Reed in this week.
Well, and the similarity, and you just mentioned it, Bo, it's about that relationship with an offensive coordinator. It's a new staff. It's a new coordinator. So unlike the Texas situation, there's a lot of things that's different about it. For obviously Texas' season last year, but to me, there's no doubt that the Texas play caller believes in number 3. I think there's absolutely doubt that A&M's brand new OC might not believe in number, what's Wigman, 15, that he might not believe in that guy. I mean, that would make sense. Chance, one other question about your power poll. Let me throw it up real quick. How much consideration did you give for putting Alabama at 2?
I gave it more than I'd like to admit. Let's just put it that way because they were
Isn't
really
the similar argument that got Texas to 1 over Georgia? Isn't there an argument to do the same logic with Bama and put them over Georgia?
I had the exact same logic in my head. I just couldn't pull myself to do it. I mean, if you could see the sheet of paper, I went back and forth several times going, all right, which way do I go here? I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But I'm going to say this. Alabama, if they can get their their bullshit together before the end of the season, they're going to be tough because if they can get out of their own way, some of the penalties that they've had early, they've got a lot of speed on that team and a lot of size. They're built a lot like Texas, and I think they're a force to be reckoned with. And I'm glad that that Alabama has to play Georgia, and then Georgia has to play Texas. I think that's wonderful, but we'll see how it works out.
By the way, Cheddar Gibson came in with that, and that will determine who's number 2 in your power poll in 2 weeks, because I don't think Ole Miss is going to have to play a real team before they climb into the top 3.
Well, this is my thing. So everybody needs to understand, when I do these polls, I do them as like where I think they are right now. And I've been very, very strict on trying to do that as to where they are right now, not where they're going to be, because the beautiful thing about playing the SEC is a lot of it's going to work itself out, right? Like it will make itself readily apparent by the end of the year. We'll be arguing about maybe the top 2 or the top 3, depending on how, if you've got a bunch of one-loss teams, then it's going to be really fun trying to come up with a power poll, because then we're going to be going, who won, where, when, how healthy is people, who matches up better against a run, who's got a better passing attack. Like all those things are going to come. Right now, we got a whole season ahead of us that a lot of this stuff it's going to work itself out.
God, the scheduling is so great. The idea that we just looked at that power poll and Chance's number 2 is about to go to number 3 and number 1 is going to host number 2 for sure. After years and years of Georgia and Alabama getting preferential treatment and not having to play each other, we're getting to see that game in 2 weeks. And then 3 weeks past that, I guess, is Texas and Georgia. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Chris Bennett sending us a super chat. $2 from Washington State. How would Dr. Lou handle the Quinn Arch situation? That's a good question, Chris Ben. It's real easy. You give them the Newt Rudy. The Newt Rudy test is real simple. You have one of them watch the Newt Rockney movie and the Gipper speech, and you have one of them watch Rudy. And then you have a book report, and you read the 2 book reports, and whichever one makes you sweat more, that's who you play in the first quarter, then you play the other one in the second quarter. That's exactly what you do. Chris Bennett.
To reply to Eric Hart, it's not that we're not allowed to cuss. We've just made a moratorium because YouTube told us that they didn't like the cussing, that we're doing a more concerted effort to not. And because putting money in Chance's mom's tip jar or the quarter jar for when we cussed was getting very expensive for me.
Yeah. To this moment, the Outsiders has never been hit for any kind of swearing, but I thought I would tell the guys to test them, and because I really enjoy listening to them try to avoid it. Most of the time, that's not my thing. I really enjoy when they try to do the weird grandma, like no swear.
I have yet to get to the blue-footed boobies, but trust me, we will get there at some point.
Oh, that's some old school me and Chance radio back.
Oh.
What was the name of the 1370 station?
That's a long time ago.
1370, the Bible or something that we were on.
Here's the problem, Chad. We're doing the noon show after you still had a job and we got kicked out. And we're doing a show because the only place we could find to give us a show was the Christian station in Austin.
Yeah, that was the station that was running the Aggie games at the time. Might still be
the
station.
And Bob Cole and his team that formed Eric Rains, prior to the acquisition of the Horn, we had formed a partnership. You know, me and Chance had this vague thought that, well, once they buy the Horn, we'll be back on the Horn and everything will be roses and sunshine. But in the meantime, we were working with this nice old man named Gene Bender. Did not want us on his airwaves, but they didn't own the station. And Bob and Eric were like, these guys are funny and we're going to let them do their thing. And he was like, you cannot say any profanity on our airwaves. And so Chance, and to a lesser extent me, took it as a personal challenge, if you will, to figure out ways to say things on the air that were legal. So Chance found this bird called a blue-footed booby. And when I came into the studio one day, he had decorated the entire studio with printed out pictures of blue-footed boobies. And he said, that's all we're talking about today.
Hey, Chad, I had a whiteboard. We locked him out of the studio at one point because I had a whiteboard of all the words he told me I couldn't say. And I was reading the words that he told me I couldn't say.
That is fantastic.
Well, our producer was just throwing his hands in the air because he's banging on the door.
I locked him out. We're doing this.
He was in the producer studio waving at us. I'm pulling the plug, and Chance is like, blue-footed booby.
How did it not work? I just don't understand. Let's check in on
the our window, but somehow you and Jeff Ketchum figured out a way to get us back on the airwaves.
We'll check in on the Jackson Arnold conversation in the chat. Arnold wears skinny jeans that are bedazzled.
Oh,
all right, Kyle?
The best one I've heard yet, Chad, is that apparently Arnold gets startled by his farts in the bathtub.
Okay, this one I love. I just don't quite. Arnold doesn't know that his parents are related. What? Oh my God!
What if they were related before that he was conceived?
Oh my God, that is unreal.
Hey, that's a perfect note for us to give a shout out.
Grew up with a two-story
Happy birthday, as we're speaking about old radios, to Craig Way. It's his birthday today.
There you go, Craig Way
and the Longhorns, who I send him a text every single day on his birthday. Happy birthday from your favorite radio asshat. And because that's what he called me the first time he heard me on the air when Chad was producing the show. And I told him that I had stolen his line for Cedar Park announcing, and he gave me his blessing to use. You can say goodnight to this one to call 7th grade football games at Cedar Park Middle School.
Oh, now you got to lean in. Next time you get a chance.
No, every time a guy breaks 3 yards, you can say it. Oh, not quite yet, but you can say goodnight, but not yet.
That is fantastic. All right, lots of good Texas feelings this week. Texas sitting at number 1. They're number 1 in Chance's Power Poll. They are number 1 in the AP poll. We've obviously talked a lot about that. Also, thanks to our great partners around here. First off, we always tell you about the Specs chat. Thanks to over 730 of you in that Specs chat. Until October 5th. Specs has something special for you, and Bo is particularly interested.
Specs for our whiskey sale and enjoy the lowest prices on Texas' largest selection of whiskey. But hurry, these deals won't last long. Specs, cheers to savings.
That was Bo's glass right towards the end there, just filling it up. What do you call that last pour, Bo? That's not, what is that? They say it's like, there's 1 finger, there's 2. What is that? That's like a 5. What's that? An 8 finger pour?
That's what you call 6 to midnight. And if you don't know what that means, then I'm not telling you. But that pour is 6 to midnight, baby.
The old 6 to midnight. That's fantastic. All right, Bo. 6 to midnight and all day long. You got to have good windows on the house. Tell them about Texan Windows.
Texan Windows is your expert window company. And here's the thing. They can control the seasons for you. When it's too hot outside, your windows can make your house cooler. When it's winter out, they can make your house warmer. Getting high quality windows will save you money on your electric bills. They will make you happier. They up the resale value. It's an underestimated thing to improve the windows on your house. Get started at TexanWindows.com. Scan that QR code right there, whether it's replacement windows, new construction windows, vinyl Williams, the sliding patio doors, they install it, they deliver it. Call my guy, Brian Haley, 512-987-8393. That's 512-987-8393. That's not just Central Texas, baby. Wherever you're at in Texas, call Brian Haley. He'll get you your estimate, and Texan Windows will make your life better. It will make your life cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter. It's TexanWindows.com.
All right, fellas, let's talk about some of the other studs in this game. We talked about both quarterbacks. Quinn looks great. Obviously has the injury. You hope he's able to come back in a couple of weeks. Arch comes in. He looks great. We also mentioned that Ethan Burke play in the game and kind of what he looked like. So take those 3 out of the discussion. Chance, I'll go to you first. Give me some other names that jumped out. Who else did you love against UTSA?
I loved what Colin Simmons is doing right now. He's playing at an extremely high level for a guy that's only played 3 collegiate football games, and he's just now figuring out what to do. He's been phenomenal. I think he was great. I mean, we know what Wingo, we know what Burke's done. I think both running backs looked really, really good. I mean, there was a lot of guys. I think Broughton played really, really well for the most part that he was in the game. Sorrell looked really good on a couple plays because he's just physically better than everybody that was on the field on Saturday night. So
Yeah,
that's
he
hard.
did have a couple really nice plays.
I mean, he just had a play. He had plays where he just moved people out of the way and made a play. It was impressive.
Yeah, Daddy Sorrell, if you're out there, 88 did look great against UTSA. We hope you're doing well. Bo, who else stood out?
So the entire defensive front looked great, but I preface it by saying they were just bigger, stronger, faster than the guys that were in front of them. I love what Colin Simmons did, but I want to see what he does when he's up against OU's tackle and not UTSA's. Like, it's kind of the tap the brakes that I'm talking about. Like, Colin Simmons is immensely talented, but there are plenty of guys that can pad up stats against the UTSAs of the world. Texas State got sacks against UTSA. The one that impressed me the most was Andrew Makuba, because he's done it. He did it against Michigan. Yeah. He is becoming a human wrecking ball back there. Like, he is the kind of guy that when OU puts on tape, they're like, oh, sorry, Miss Mock. Oh, shit. That guy's coming downhill, and he's coming downhill fast. His sheer aggressiveness makes wide receiver screens less of a probability, because the way he comes downhill, that's a turnover waiting to happen when he hits the guy and the ball flies in the air, or he hits the guy and the ball hits the turf. We've had some good defensive backs come through Texas, but no safeties like that recently. Like, Andrew Makuba impressed the hell out of me, because that wasn't a who you're playing against. It was a mentality. And I love that mentality. He was bringing it downhill.
Yeah. I'll keep saying it, guys. That's exactly the kind of player Dabo Swinney needs to get in the portal, ironically. How about this young fella? ATX Bates? How about Ty Anthony Smith's instincts on that blitz up the middle? Chance, that was a freaking hammer that kid brought.
Massive hammer is what it was. And, hey, real quick to go back to, I don't want to get off of it because Bo's right. We didn't mention Jahdae Barron, and he has been consistent and great all season long. Exactly what we knew we'd get out of him. But that's the thing, is that sometimes we take for granted guys that have been consistently good, and we notice the new guys, if you will. And you know, Big Cheddar said it too. Michael Taft. I mean, the dude almost gets called for a targeting, which I think is absolute BS, because you're coming down through the hole and you make a hit, and fortunately they didn't end up going with the targeting. He comes down and lays the wood. I mean, there are so many guys, and I know it's UTSA, but I think it's also important to give credit where credit is due, because when you have it, you can only play. This is the thing Mac Brown used to say that I thought was really, really true, is you can only play the team that shows up on the field on Saturday. Like, you don't take away from what players do because of who they were asked to play by the people that made the schedule. They came out and they did their job, and they played fundamentally sound, and they played with a hell of a lot of intensity against a UTSA team that I was absolutely my mind, like, they're getting beat by 40 and talking shit to Sark on the sideline. I'm like, what? Like, what are we doing on a blatant missed face mask, by the way, that would have extended the drive? Not to mention that part, but, you know, I think this team is really good. I saw a couple tweets come out. You know, I think Colin Simmons said something, and I'm paraphrasing. He said something to the extent of, I got more work to do, or a lot to work on, or a lot of things to fix, or something to that measure. And then Makuba came back, same. Like, I think this team's mentality is really, I think they're in a great headspace right now. And getting to what one of the texters actually asked, you know, if they lose a game, is there a meltdown? I don't think so. I think this team is one of those teams that even if they have a game that's a hard-fought game against a Georgia, does it suck? Yeah. But I think this is one of those teams that goes, I mean, you see videos of guys after big wins, and they're running the steps at DKR. Like, I don't think this team looks at the number one rate. That's why I think when fans are going, I saw an Orange Blood's headline, you know, about fans not wanting the number one. I want the number one. Come get it. Like, I don't want to be well, we're just going to hide at number two and try to get in the playoffs and go surprise people. No, be the most dominating from the start to the finish. I want that bullet. I want that big target on my back. Come get some. Like, that's why you come to schools like Texas. That's why you go to Alabama. You think those kids went to Alabama because they wanted to be number 2 and hope to get in the playoffs because they don't want people to have a target on their back? No, you want that, and you got it. So now just go play. I love what Joe Brady says after every Bills win. Only thing he posts on X, 1-0. That's it. You win the game, 1-0. Next week you win, 1-0. Just 1 week at a time.
A couple other guys that got mentioned by some chatters. Chad mentioned Jonte Cook getting in the end zone a couple times, one from each quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. And Chris Bennett says Malik Muhammad having an 0-1 Quentin Jammer type of season. Number 5 has definitely looked good so far. If you want to throw us a super chat, we will take those. Texas rolling at 3-0 and number 1 team in the country. Obviously, the quarterback stuff has been part of the discussion tonight and will continue to be throughout the week. And you would assume it's Arch Manning this week, but we don't know for sure. I don't know that we absolutely find that out, maybe even before kick on Saturday night. But you would assume it's Arch at least this week. Maybe it's a couple. Quinn Ewers questionable with the abdominal injury. Bo?
Before we run out, me and Chance talked about this, but how awesome was Sark's press conference where he got to talk about his son and how cool it was that his son Brady got to come on the field. And he's like, I took the headset off and said, I'm just going to be a dad. Blitz number 32. But that's the type of stuff that's endearing about Sark. And when Chance was alluding to this team being a team, I guarantee you there were every single guy in orange on that sideline rooting for Brady Sarkisian to make a play, but not just because he was Sark's boy, but because that's the mentality. They are a family, and Brady's a part of that. And he works his ass off in practice, I'm sure, or he wouldn't be getting the time in the game.
Yeah, and Chance, he also mentioned, when he was asked about Quinn and Arch, in his answer, he immediately said, Arch is just another guy on this team. And at first, on its face, I thought, well, that's a silly thing to say. Of course, he's not just another guy. But I think he believed I think he was believing what he said. I don't think he meant that as BS. And it really, everybody is dialed in on a story like that, on just all those little details. That's where, again, if I'm looking at I always get to look at these things from the outside. But if I'm you guys, you talk about enjoy the ride. I mean, holy hell. I've been saying it for months that this is the most unique quarterback situation in the history of college football. And now we're watching it play out in real time. And now Sark gets almost his dream scenario for if Quinn had to miss a couple games. Which 2 would you want him to miss, Sark?
Yes.
Missed it by that much. Because you know what he would have said. He would have said, well, UTSA and ULM. Can I have him do those 2? Because we got room for Arch to make a mistake or 2 in those. And then can I have Quinn back for SEC play? It's maybe a little off of that. But with all this stuff going the way it is, it just, I don't know. It feels like it's rolling in a good way. If I was a fan of this team, I would sit back, grab popcorn, and just love every second of it, because there's never been a fan base that gets to enjoy something like this.
Well, and that was what the point I was trying to make about I almost thought it was scripted by Sark. No, he wasn't hoping that Quinn Ewers got hurt. And no, he wasn't wanting any of these things to happen. But he's getting his dream scenario, which is getting to prepare Arch like it was a real game. He got to bring Arch in a sudden change situation with Quinn getting hurt. Now it gets him for a week, maybe even 2, preparing for his first SEC game against Mississippi State. All these things are better at making Arch the quarterback for the next 2 years beyond this. And it's the program building stuff. Now Arch becomes the leader that Trey Owens and eventually KJ Lacey and others learn from, and he's getting those lessons in real time, and it's not forced. That's the toughest thing. And Chance, you can, jump in here, but the toughest thing to get a quarterback acclimated, well, if he knows he's coming in mop-up time, or he knows he's getting a series in the third quarter, part of it is the prep for the game. Part of it is understanding the game plan and being truly engaged. And I think this allows Arch to do that in a way that it's organic. It's not being forced.
Well, and look, one of the guys in the chatter said the 2000 USC. I would argue that, because you had Carson Palmer And then there was a lag before you got to Leinart. And then after that, you did get to Sanchez. And you know,
And none of them are Arch. None of them.
and none of them are Arch.
None of them are that magical. Sorry.
The only one that had that magic coming out of high school, truly had the magic coming out of high school, was Carson Palmer. Because Carson Palmer was like a big name before there was a big, before the internet was really doing its thing. But you really can't compare the two because, number one, you've got the Manning name. The name on the back of his jersey and the number doesn't change. I don't care what it is. But I think when you look at Arch, he looks so mature for having so little time. And that's what I told Sinisi. But
the Arnold word, just sorry, Chance.
It's terrible.
That's wrong. That's so wrong. Never do that. Young men, don't ever do that. Don't ever do that.
Arnold and ATX, dude, y'all got to take this offline. You're making me laugh.
It's not appropriate. Not appropriate. Hey, you know what? Sometimes you feel like you don't want to get your hands messy. Anyway. Terribly sorry. I'm sorry. We interrupted your thought, Chance. Did you have more to say about the USC thing? Or is it gone?
No, it's gone. But poor Jackson Arnold is over here catching strays for really no reason.
Hey, Jackson Arnold's got a big opportunity this week because he's going up against Nico at home. First SEC game that involves Texas or OU is this Saturday night, and Jackson Arnold can shut a lot of people up, including his own fans who don't seem to like his team very much. They can shut him up Saturday night if they can knock Tennessee down a peg. We will see. That's one of the ranked matchups of the week. New Big Ten, new Big 12, new SEC all have ranked matchups this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun to check out.
Hey, Chad, did you happen to see the other power poll I sent you?
The other power poll? No.
Yeah, the Pac-12 power rankings.
Damn, that's rude. Rude. That's rude. Hey, you know what? Washington State got to have a little message last week for the old rival in the Apple Cup. That was cool. Yeah. I like that one.
That was good. There's a battle for first place in that power poll. I'm telling you.
There's a battle in the Pac-12. Hey, they got new members coming in a couple years. They're lining them up. They got 6. They're up to 6. They got to get 2 more to be considered a real
Texas State. How cool would it be if they grabbed Texas State?
It's not a bad idea.
I'm just saying, like Texas State is in the Southland. Like, let's go ahead or Sun Belt. Let's get Texas State in there. Texas State, Boise State for a group of 5 chance in the playoff. I'm in.
I like how you got the conference wrong, then you immediately got it right and ended up insulting both conferences at the same time. That was fantastic. Texas State's in the Southland. Sun Belt, whatever.
Have you met me? I get shit wrong like that all the time.
That was so good. Everybody in the Southland and the Sun Belt is insulted.
I wanted to sue somebody on Twitter who said they actually had a tweet that said DJ Ukulele should not be playing quarterback for Florida State. And I said, you stole my shit.
Man, that dude. Whew. Hey, I told y'all that was one of the games that if the former team could come in and beat that coach, whew. Did y'all hear the fire alarm go off during the press conference?
Fire.
Chance, did you hear it?
Yes.
Unbelievable. The fire alarm is going off, and he was just still sitting there like a zombie. Just unreal. All right, Chance, before we get out of here, why don't you tell the folks about Prodigy Mortgage and what Thad and his crew can do for them?
What Thad and his crew will do for you is they'll get you into the home you want, the home that you love. They'll make sure it gets done. We keep talking about, if you need a backup, and Art said he didn't need backup. Well, you know what? When you're going in to try to get that house, you do need backup. You need somebody to come stand and take care of all of your needs. It's hard in today's day to get financing. But these guys get it done. You need a partner. You don't want just somebody at an office that you call. You want somebody that you have their cell phone number, that if you've got questions, you know the deal's going to get done. I say it all the time because it's true. You don't want your wife and kids to fall in love with the house that you want to make your home, and you get all the way to closing and it doesn't happen because your lender let you down. Thad and his team will not let you down. Prodigy Mortgage, they'll get you taken care of. Give them a holler.
All right, it's the Outsiders brought to you by Poncho. There's that beautiful new shirt one more time. Check out the Texas on the sleeve there. Check out the Texas logo. You've been asking for it. Hey, can I get a burnt orange poncho with a Longhorn logo on it? Maybe even throw the word Texas in it. Boom, dream comes true. Mention Orange Bloods Live when you go to ponchooutdoors.com. It is called the San Jacinto. And if you want to see it on a real live sexy beast, there it is right there. The man is wearing it live
right
on your
there, baby.
Look at that. Look at the gun show there. That's the San Jacinto gun show from Boa.
I'm just saying, you win the pick'em contest. If one of the chatters can go 3-0 and not 0-3 like I went last week, I guess I ran my mouth a little too much after winning the title a year ago. But I'll get it back. We'll get back on track. That's the shirt you can get. Win the contest on Wednesday night. You can direct message me, and you'll have a San Jacinto delivered to your doorstep.
There it is. Could be a San Jacinto. Could be a Smoky. Could be an Earl. If you want to go outside of the Longhorn realm, there's all kinds of other colors you can do. We always tell you can match it up to your high school color and be the sharpest dressed SOB under the Friday night lights. You can do it that way too. All right, fellas, anything else we need to hit before we get out of here?
No, we gotta get ready for Wednesday's show. We gotta start hydrating for What You Drinking Wednesday on ULM week.
Gotta start hydrating. All right, then we will sweep the floors and lock the doors. Jason, Dick, get well. Get back with us on Wednesday because we do want to know what you're drinking. We'll make picks. We will make fun of somebody who's in last place right now. I know Jason's at the top. Who's at the bottom? I can't remember.
Chat GPT.
Bo, is it this
Not
guy?
We're tied for last.
You know, it's funny. It's funny, Bo, that he takes the credit when the AI gets it right. He takes the credit when the AI gets it wrong. He dumps the AI into the trash can.
So now we're going to find out how much degenerate Chance really has in him, because a true degenerate, after going 1-5, is going to stay on the pony and to use ChatGPT again. A pragmatist is going to go off on his own and could go lose again. The law of big numbers will tell you that it will balance out in the end, and that's what gamblers chase all the time. So is he going to chase it and go Chat GPT again, or is he going to go out and actually use his brain?
Chance GPT, that's right.
We're going to find out, if it's Chat GPT or Chance GPT on Wednesday night. Thank you for jumping in the chat tonight. Up over 830 folks as we get ready to close the door. Thank y'all for jumping in. And again, congrats to all you Longhorn fans watching. Number one team in the country for the first time since 2008. You'll host a game as the number one team for the first time since 2008. Vince Young didn't do that. Think about that for a second. Vince never got to take a snap as the quarterback of the number one team at home. It never happened.
I don't think he ever got to take a snap as a quarterback as the number one team ever, period.
I guess technically right, because they didn't get there till they beat USC, and then right, because they were chasing all that year. That was 2 every year, every week. It felt like they were just sitting on that number 2.
And ATX Bates, I'll take that offer all day long.
What is this right here? Hold on.
Custom fishing lure.
Make a custom fishing lure for you if Arch throws 3 touchdowns on Saturday. Okay, Bates.
I'm taking the over.
Like that a lot. Get those chats ready and those super chats ready for Wednesday night. Thank you for liking and subscribing and getting those notifications. By the way, thank you. We are now at 21.1 and we're climbing. We're almost to 21,200 subscribers. Make sure you subscribe if you're not. Tell those that you know are listening and that are just stubborn to subscribe if they haven't. And make sure you like on the way out if you didn't like on the way in to the show tonight. Until Wednesday night, we are the Outsiders and we are legit.